In the heart of Dubai, where the skyline touches the stars and dreams seem to breathe in gold, lived a man the world believed was complete. A prince. A leader. A symbol. But inside him, lived a silence no one could hear. Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed Al Maktoum stood by the tall glass window of his palace, watching the city glow beneath him. Cars moved like tiny stars, buildings shimmered like diamonds, and endless life flowed in every direction. Yet, inside him, there was stillness. Not peace, but emptiness. He wasn't always like this. There was a time when he laughed freely. When the desert wasn't an escape but a playground. When dreams were simple, and life didn't feel like a responsibility carved into his soul. But time changes people. And power changes them even more. From a young age, he was taught strength, discipline, leadership. He learned how to stand tall, how to speak with confidence, how to carry the weight of a nation on his shoulders. But no one ever taught him how to carry loneliness. Because loneliness doesn't show on the face. It hides behind perfect smiles. Every morning, his day began before the sun rose. Meetings. Decisions. Expectations. He was surrounded by people all the time, officials, advisors, guests, but somehow, he had never felt more alone. They respected him. They admired him. But they didn't know him. Not the real him. Not the man who sometimes stayed awake all night, staring at the ceiling, wondering what it would feel like to live a life where he could simply be. No titles. No pressure. Just existence. One night, unable to bear the suffocating silence inside the palace, he left. No guards. No announcement. Just him, and the open desert. The sand stretched endlessly, glowing under the moonlight. The air was calm, untouched by the noise of the city. Here, he could breathe. He walked slowly, feeling the sand beneath his feet, the cool wind brushing against his face. For the first time in days, his mind began to quiet. He sat down on a small dune and looked at the sky. Stars. Thousands of them. Each one distant, yet shining. Strange, he whispered to himself, how something so far away can still be seen, and something so close can still feel so distant. His own words echoed in his heart. Because that's exactly how he felt. Close to everyone. But understood by no one. Days passed after that night, but something inside him had shifted. The silence was still there, but now, it was louder. He began noticing things he had ignored before. The emptiness in crowded rooms. The artificial smiles. The conversations that had no depth. And most of all, the version of himself he had become. A perfect image. But not a complete person. Then came the night that changed everything. At a charity event filled with lights, cameras, and admiration, He played his role perfectly as always. Smiling, speaking, inspiring. But while walking through the hall, his eyes caught something unusual. A quiet corner. And in that corner, a girl. She wasn't looking at him. She wasn't impressed by the event. She was simply drawing. Curious, he walked toward her. "What are you drawing?" he asked gently. The girl looked up, surprised but calm. "A place," she said. "What kind of place?" She looked back at her notebook. "A place where people don't feel alone." Her words froze him. He sat beside her without thinking. She showed him the drawing. Two people, standing under a vast sky. No faces. No details. Just presence. "They don't talk," she explained softly. "But they understand each other." He felt something inside him break. Not loudly. Not painfully. But quietly. Like a wall that had been standing for years, finally cracking. "What if someone never finds that place?" he asked. The girl smiled. "Then they create it?" That night, he didn't sleep. He sat in his room, staring at a blank page. For the first time in his life, he didn't want to write orders or plans. He wanted to write himself. Slowly, hesitantly, he began. Not as a prince, but as a man. He wrote about his fears, his loneliness, his hidden thoughts, his unspoken emotions. And with every word, the silence inside him began to change. It was no longer empty. It was expressive. Weeks turned into months. And people began noticing something different about him. He was still strong. Still respected. But now, he was real. He started creating spaces not grand, not publicized but meaningful. Places where people could come and just exist. No expectations. No pressure. Just presence. He funded quiet retreats. Art corners. Open spaces for expression. Places where silence wasn't heavy but healing. And slowly, he started healing too. One evening, he returned to the desert. The same place. The same sky. But a different heart. He sat on the sand, looking at the horizon. The loneliness was still there. But it didn't hurt the same way anymore. Because now, he understood it. It wasn't his weakness. It was his depth. It allowed him to feel more. To see more. To understand others in ways most people couldn't. And for the first time, he didn't wish it away. As the sun began to rise, painting the sky in shades of gold and hope, a soft smile appeared on his face. Not the smile of a prince, but the smile of a man who had finally found a piece of himself. Far away, in a small room, a girl opened her notebook. She added something new to her drawing. The two figures under the sky now stood a little closer. Not touching. Not speaking. But no longer alone. And somewhere between the silence and the stars, a prince learned that even the heaviest hearts can find light.